Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Mindy Eggen, and in today's video I am going to show you how I did the Trapped Emboss Resist Technique that I learned from Jennifer McGuire. This is the first time I've ever done this technique and I've always wanted to. It's something really fun and really pretty on your backgrounds, and I'm going to actually do it two different ways, or I'm going to create two different backgrounds for this. So the first one I'm doing is I'm using ink cubes to create my colorful background. I'm starting with this one first because this one will take a little longer to dry. So for my ink cubes, I am using Gina K Designs ink, and I'm using Cherry Red, Passionate Pink, Sweet Mango, and Wild Dandelion. I'm just taking those ink cubes and dragging them back and forth across my cardstock. I'm using Neenah Solar White 110 pound and just kind of creating an ombre look, and it doesn't have to blend perfectly. I just wanted the colors to coordinate, and I picked out some really nice bright and vibrant colors. So once I have that done, I'm going to set that off on the side to dry, and I'm going to work on my second background. Now this is one of my new favorite ways to create backgrounds. It's quick, it's simple, very vibrant colors. I am using the Tombow dual brush pens, and the colors I have picked out here is 606, 555, 403, and 173. So it's a dark purple, a dark blue, kind of an aqua blue, and then the light green. And I am doing this on the Fabriano Artistico white watercolor paper. That is actually my preference when it comes to working with any type of watercoloring medium. Then I'm just taking a paintbrush, wetting that, and watercoloring that background. So dragging that color down the cardstock so it creates that beautiful blend, kind of that ombre look. And once this dries, it is such a beautiful, vibrant background. Now I do speed a lot of it up with my heat tool. So drying that background, and I also did that to my background I used with the ink cubes as I dried that with my heat tool as well. Now I'm going to use the Spring Peony stamp set. It has a lot of gorgeous florals and foliage on here. So once I lined up my images where I wanted them to go to create my background, I'm placing my first cardstock piece here. This is with the Tombow pens. I'm also using a misty corner, and the reason for that is I have some images that are hanging off. So the misty corners are great for that. So it's kind of giving me that little bit of edge around my cardstock piece here. Then I'm prepping this with an anti-static powder tool, so just sprinkling on that powder. And then I'm going to ink up this stamp really well with the VersaMark ink. And I do actually stamp this twice. I don't show that a lot in videos just to kind of save time, but it is a watercolor paper, so it's textured, and I want to make sure I have a really good impression. So I'm just pushing that down really, really well. And then I'm going to sprinkle on clear embossing powder. This is one of the keys to doing this technique, is just sprinkling on the clear embossing powder and then heat setting that. And that is going to trap that color that we did our background in. So you can see it's kind of hard to see it on camera, but it is trapping that bright, vibrant color underneath. And I did the same exact thing using the background I created with the ink cubes, using the clear embossing powder, and then that is trapping that color. So the magical key ingredient to this now is this ink. Now you could do this with black ink or a sparkle ink, but I found that this unicorn ink is absolutely gorgeous. This is the Hero Arts Unicorn pigment ink. So it does take a little bit longer to dry because it is a pigment ink. So I am just taking a blender brush, dabbing off on my craft mat. You can see it's very thick. There's a lot there, and I don't need that much right away. I'd rather start small and add more if I need to, and then just blending that all over my background. So it's going to really tame down your colors. That's why I was going for really vibrant backgrounds, because I knew that this pigment ink would tone that down a little bit. Then I'm taking a cloth and just wiping away all of that excess ink. So it's giving me that lighter background, and then it trapped those really bright colors underneath using that clear embossing powder. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the background that I had created using the Tombow dual brush pens, adding that white pigment ink. Like I said, you could also do black ink, I think would be gorgeous, or maybe a shimmer spray you could use. And then wiping away that excess pigment ink, kind of giving that a little bit of time to dry afterwards, because like I said, pigment does take a little bit longer. And I do think that this blue-green one is my favorite. I just was really loving those colors. Now, to get a little bit more use out of my coordinating dies, I'm taking the dies that are actually for the foliage, for the leaves and things on the stamp set, and I'm die cutting these out of black cardstock. I'm really liking these kind of silhouette images lately, and you can do that with so many different images of stamp sets. So that's another great way to get more use out of your coordinating dies. So once I have an image picked, I need to have a sentiment. Now, my original thought was a thin strip sentiment across the middle, but I had an extra piece of this bloom die cut out of glitter cardstock kind of tucked away in the stamp set from a different project. And I really liked how that looked on the front of my card. I liked it in the glitter. It really popped. And I was still liking my silhouette image. So what I went ahead and did is I die cut the word bloom out of silver glitter cardstock. So I did that twice, so one for each card. And then I die cut it 4 times out of white cardstock. And I'm layering that 2 times together for each card. So I'll have 2 pieces of white and then the silver glitter on top for the one card. And I'll repeat the same for the second card. So just kind of stacking up those word dies. I like the dimension that it provides, and I'm just using my Gina K Designs Connect glue to adhere those all together. Once I have my die cut words all glued together, I have 2 there, so 1 for each card. I trimmed my panels down to 3 3/4 by 5 inches and attached them to a white card front base here. So that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of white cardstock. I really like having that white edge around my colored cardstock, and then adding on that silhouette image with the Connect glue, and then adding my die cut word on top. So I do that for both cards. Now off screen, when I was playing around, I did stamp out some sentiments and trim them down to thin strips, and I really wanted to use them, but I thought it was just too much to add to the front of the card. I was really happy with just the die cut word bloom and the silhouette. So I'm attaching these to an actual card base, which I don't normally do right away, honestly. So I'm getting these attached to just a white card base, and I'm going to put that sentiment in the inside of the card. It's very rare, actually, that I add anything to the inside of the card. I like to save that for when I'm ready to use the card. But since I already had it and it coordinated with the die cut word, I'm going to go ahead and use a T-square ruler to make sure that I'm adding that straight. And then just adding a little bit of tape runner to attach those. Now, these would also work really well if you wanted to mass produce some cards. If you already have your background laid out in your MISTI tool, it would be a great idea to just stamp a bunch of backgrounds at once, and you can create so many different backgrounds, the variety of colors you could create and produce those. So I hope you really enjoyed today's technique, and we'll give it a try. I will have the supplies listed down below in the video description. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.